welcome to this episode of Three Questions. I'm Greg Michlig, President and CEO at CUInsight.com, and it's great to be joined by JP O'Connor, Senior Compensation Consultant at PARC Street Group. JP, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I know you've got some good stuff, and our audience is certainly eager to hear your valuable insights, so let's jump in.
Okay.
So, what made Park decide to create its own total compensation survey, and what makes it different from other compensation surveys?
So we actually created the survey because we saw a need for something more targeted to how credit unions actually make compensation decisions. For years, we've worked with credit union specific surveys and compensation data sources of many. We've seen what information is useful. We can apply that, and where HR teams and boards sometimes need more detail, we'll know where that is. So we've combined that experience with actual direct feedback from a whole bunch of HR professionals in the industry to build a survey that's practical, it's efficient, it's focused on the data people actually use. And one of the key priorities was making the survey manageable. So we know that everyone is busy, especially our HR folks. And so we designed it to take about 30 minutes on average, which is kind of record breaking versus a lot of the time it takes to take some of these other surveys. The goal was to get right to the information that matters. So when most credit unions are benchmarking executive pay and setting compensation levels year to year, we want to get right into the information that they're going to use. Another important difference is really that we are looking beyond the job titles. In credit unions, as many of us know, titles don't always tell the full story because, especially executives, we wear multiple hats. So we're asking about responsibilities, scope of the role, not just the title, and we're going to create more accurate comparisons. So really, ultimately, the survey was built from our real world experience, what we've seen in the data, what HR professionals have told us that they need, and what credit unions actually rely on when they make pay decisions.
It's interesting. We were speaking before we hit record just about being busy, right? So that's important to be able to get the survey out there in a way that is manageable and doesn't take too much time. And then just what you were saying about the titles, we see it all the time too, right? It's just at credit unions, there's different levels of complexity, and so being able to dig in more deeply than just title is important. So you're talking about the important information and the relevant information that you use. So what kind of information will credit unions get from the survey, and why is that data valuable?
I think that's probably the sharpest question for the whole thing, right? Because why is it even worthwhile to take in the first place? Um, Honestly, it's because we're not just asking what elements of compensation are being offered, but we're actually capturing the monetary value of those elements. And that's a big distinction. It's really helpful to know whether credit unions are offering incentives or retirement benefits or supplemental plans or all different types of things. But it's even more useful to know what those items actually are worth and what the credit union is spending on each part of the package. So the survey is going to look at the full picture, the salary, incentives, benefits, retirement perks, you name it. The goal is to help credit unions understand not just the structure of the executive comp package, but the total dollar value behind each component. And a lot of our methodology comes from conversations I've been having for years. I interview well over 100 credit union executives actually around the country every single year, and I ask them, what pay elements matter the most to you and why? And those conversations have been so informative. And sometimes the biggest priority is cash compensation. Other times it's incentive opportunity, flexibility, you name it. That perspective has really helped us to decide what questions we want to ask and what data would be the most useful to even report on. And we wanted the survey to reflect not only what credit unions are providing, but also what executives actually value. So the data is going to be broken out by categories like position, state, region, you name it. Anything that's really going to be something we can report on reliably, but we need those response volumes to come in. The more credit unions that participate, the more detailed and meaningful those breakouts can be. So at the end of the day, the survey should really help credit unions answer the most practical questions. What are we paying? What is our total package worth? How does it compare to the market? And are we investing in the compensation elements that actually matter when attracting and retaining our talent?
So it's no secret there are other compensation surveys out there, and some credit unions use those other compensation surveys. So why should they participate in or purchase the PARC survey too?
Another great question. Honestly, I think it's smart for credit unions to use multiple sources when they're making compensation decisions. I'm an advocate for using multiple surveys. So, no single one should necessarily be the source of truth. Boards and HR teams, they're usually better served when they can compare several data points and see the broader market picture. However, where the PARC survey adds value is that it's being built specifically around the executive compensation issues that we see in credit unions every day. It can work as a standalone resource, yes, but it also complements other surveys by adding another focused industry specific perspective. One of the areas we're also really trying to improve is consistency. In some surveys, the participant group can change quite a bit from year to year, and that can make the results kind of hard to interpret. If the group of respondents is shifting too much, the data may really move for reasons that aren't necessarily tied to real market changes. So that's why we're actually encouraging ongoing participation. We're offering a compounding discount over multi-year periods to reward the credit unions that participate consistently. And the idea is pretty simple. It's that the more consistent the participation, the stronger the data becomes over time. So participation matters is an easy way of saying it. The more credit unions that complete the survey, the more reliable the results will be, and the more ways we can reasonably and responsively break out the data by region and state and position, asset size, you name it. So the message I'd give to credit unions is really this: participating helps to build a better industry resource, and purchasing the results gives you access to data that can support those stronger compensation decisions. So whether you use it with another survey or as the primary benchmarking tool, either way, the PARC Total Comp Survey, it's designed to give credit unions that clear review of what executive compensation actually looks like in the market.
Yeah, that's good that you're sharing about the depth that you get from the additional, participation. The more participation, the better for those for the data points. But then, in addition to that, I think it's a best practice that you shared in terms of having the contest by or context by having additional surveys and having this be one of them. So a number of different ways you can approach it, and appreciate you sharing that thought leadership about ways that this can be approached. So thank you again for joining me on the Three Questions video interview.
I'll just thank you right back, like I'm sure everyone does, but it really is an honor to be on here and to have an opportunity to hopefully share the survey and garner some participation. We have a good amount building up right now. We got some good momentum, but maybe this will give it another kick.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate the partnership that we've had with PARC, and we look forward to working with you going forward. And we want to thank all of those who tuned in for this episode of the Three Questions video interview. We'll see you all next time.